Hello and welcome. This is Ayana Lehi, and I am so very happy that you're here with me today in our episode called Men Who Blame Their Partner. It is way easier to strike out, put the blame on someone else when we feel afraid that we are not enough, that we're not able to stand up in ourselves, change a situation, and to make things different than they are. Usually the circumstances trigger our own helplessness and our fear. Everyone goes through being shamed at some point in their early childhood for some reason, whether you're too short, you're too tall, you're too skinny, you're too overweight, your skin's different than the other person's. Perhaps you have a parent who can't keep up with your own feeling level or intellect. Perhaps you have a talent that they would have loved to have, but you do. Perhaps you were smarter than one of your teachers. Perhaps one or both of your parents couldn't handle their own stuff, their own life challenges, and what happens to you? What do? You have abilities that others don't have. You see differently. Your perception level is clearer, yet you don't know what to do with it because you don't want to be different and you don't want to trigger other people against you. You don't want to be seen as different. You want to fit in. You want to get the approval levels that everyone wants. So what happens when you can't change things in your family structure as a kid? And you start to judge yourself and believe that who you are isn't enough, not smart enough, not lovable enough, and that no matter what you do, you may not have been able to change the perspective and viewpoints of your family structure, your family members, or to change some dysfunctional patterns. Yes, you naturally would have accepted it for what it is, trying not to judge. But yet, what happens when you begin to judge yourself? And you very subtly blame yourself for wanting a career that really fulfills your creative passion and allows the light of your soul, your spiritual aspect of you, to shine, to emote, to radiate, to be radiant. As a man, what do? Truly, what do when you have created such firm expectations of yourself, and that in order to fulfill those expectations, you had to shut off from some of your greatest talents and gifts? Perhaps you deeply feel, but haven't admitted it to yourself, that who you are can't really make the money that you want. Who you are can't really succeed in the work profession that you're in. Perhaps it's way easier to blame your partner than it is to open up the trap door to see who you give your power to. Who do you give your power to? First step is to take the honest, deep plunge into the waters within you of your emotions, and that your true power comes through honoring the feminine side within inside of yourself. Not talking about sexual preference. I'm talking with you, we here together, and the higher beings who always join me in these podcasts. What power in yourself have you denied in order to get to the point where you could blame your partner for you not having what you want, for being more exhausted than you want to even admit, for not being able to fulfill your own life goals, for not being able to communicate when you are filled with emotion, when you feel frozen, being triggered in traumas that have not yet been resolved. And you find certain patterns in your life repeating themselves constantly. Constantly meaning once a year, once a month, once a week. And when you begin to see the same kind of business patterns with business colleagues, with friends, with your own energy levels, it's really time to pay attention and to take in for a moment that your regenerative power is your feminine power. So if you keep pushing yourself in the traditional male model to push more to get more done, you might turn around one evening and tell your partner that you feel pushed by her or him and that you're done. You've had enough of that. Completely disconnected and in denial that you push yourself to a point during the work week to get through the challenges that you have, and you are so exhausted, and there are unexpected, constant situations that are arising in your work situation, in your relationships with those you're working with, that are creating a bond, a cord of so much attachment to how you're thinking things through, to how you are working to solve your issues, your challenges. Deep within the shadow part of yourself, the you that has not yet been addressed, that goes back to puberty, how you protected your own self from being made fun of, judged, possibly too much creativity, possibly spiritually way open, possibly smarter than the other students, peers, friends around you. Perhaps you couldn't access your true divine intelligence, your intellect, and your emotions because there was so much emotional confusion within inside of yourself that you chose to begin to take sides, to judge, to frame yourself in a certain way. If you were fortunate enough to awaken in your later teens and early 20s, you could begin to break free and break out of that mold that you put yourself into, or you stayed in that mindset where it's so much easier to blame the one that you love because you can't arise in your whole self consistently. Have you ever noticed if you can stay consistent, connected to the light that you are, or when you're triggered by someone else's outrageous thinking, irrational business planning, lower energy bombardments, thoughts, perceptions, viewpoints, actions, listening to other people and what they're wanting, what they're needing, the way that a lot of people in this time period have a thought, get stuck to the thought, don't question their thinking, and create a story around their own perceptions. Their perspective is what's right. So here your partner brings something up, and your partner, he or she is saying, you know, you're so loved by me. I'm really here for you. Why are you blocking me out? Why are you going so deeply alone in yourself and closing the door to me? I thought we were a partnership. But deep inside, the fear is so huge that you can't handle it. Or perhaps the anger is so huge you can't handle it. You don't trust, you can't trust the truth light that you are, the true power that you are, that has been recalibrated after finding your true power through the connection into your lower belly, the space right between your navel and your pubic bone. It's your emotional power center, your personal power, and your sexual creative power center. Here is the fire of your being. Perhaps after years of trying to succeed being you, things aren't gelling. They're not happening the way that you really had hoped. And you begin to turn off to yourself. You shut the valve. It's a form of self-loathing, self-rejection, self-hatred. And instead of being able to say, wow, look what I've done over the last many years, I've created a real fake self. I've tried to fix things that can't be fixed. I've been trying in the same line of work, and I'm good at it, but it never goes where I need it to go. What's inside of you? What has been done to your psyche to end up in a position of choosing the dark road in yourself of avoidance of you instead of the light you, and ending up blaming, which is a form of shaming with the person that you supposedly love, to your partner. It's not feeling like love, and then you get more annoyed when he or she brings it up. That's the defensiveness of the egoic self who takes over, because when you feel blamed by someone else, or more than blamed by someone else, you have blamed yourself for not being able to make those changes in the family system, in yourself, to stop abuse, to rise up and really be your creative intellect. But perhaps you can't fulfill the way tests are done in school as a child, the expectations placed on you. Were you first, second, third, fourth in line of being birthed to your mother? What did your mom, what did your dad have to give up? What did they gain? What did they need you to fulfill in them? These core basic questions. When you feel set up by another person's unconscious behaviors, and your feelings, your life work, your accomplishments, your name, everything that you stand for is not honored. That shame that emerges is what needs to emerge in order to be healed. When you split off from the shame that you feel, you're going to blame. And it could be very simple by closing the door of your heart to your partner, which is actually very complicated, but it's an easy escape route. And it keeps your partner wondering, keeps them in fear, it keeps them in self-loathing themselves because they feel that they're not lovable or worthy enough to not be blamed. That if you really loved them, you wouldn't blame them. You wouldn't blame your partner. So where in your life were you blamed? How did you blame yourself? Each day, how do you push yourself? Do you keep going in order to accomplish that dollar sign that you're wanting to have in your bank account this year? Do you keep pushing yourself without truly stopping and receiving your own emotions and learning how to give them space to exist, to understand where your emotions come from, and to be with that part of yourself that has been asking a particular inner question? What's wrong with me? Why wasn't I loved the way I need to be loved? Why do I keep drawing people in my life who are only using me? Why do I draw people into my life who don't really care? But it's all based upon what I can give them. What are you missing? Where are you skipping a beat in yourself? What are you refusing to look at? I'd like to suggest to you to slow down and breathe and to become comfortable with the hurt inside of you that you can track back all the way to the beginning of your life. The perceptions and the pictures, the projections that others place upon you as a man are super important. And you will abort yourself in order to please that picture. And you may show up as the nice guy, as the one who always has the answer, who wants to be approved of, who wants to be seen as really great, smart, the rescuer, the hero. But what about being the savior and warrior for your own self, your own soul? And you make that decision to end pushing yourself beyond the point of unable to feel what's going on, to push, to make happen, to propel yourself, because you need to prove to yourself. You fill in the blank. What are you trying to prove to yourself? That you're smart, that you're capable, that you're loved, that you're liked. And yet, why do you keep creating situations to sabotage yourself? It's so that you are pushed into the position of choosing what are you going to serve. The pure light of the brilliance of who you are, the soul light, the spiritual awakened you, or are you going to choose serving the dark, who you constantly keep pulling back into your life to shut you down so your ego can take over. So the ego self is the identity you who believes and thinks that you are responsible for all the crap that happens in your life, for all the times that you can't fix, change, make something different happen in your life, make something better, have more money. But you couldn't take away another person's pain. But you tried, but now it's your time. It's your time to heal the next layer inside your heart so that you can shift out of blame as a go-to place when you're unhappy, when you're sad, and to honor and embrace through the love, like you're mothering yourself. You're kind, like you're fathering yourself. You're kind, so that you stop internally blaming your own self and realize that that's the trick of your ego, is to keep you blaming yourself. And as you choose not to respond to your ego, but to focus clearly in your quiet time each day, in your contemplative time, into the light within your heart, within your solar plexus and lower belly, connect those three. And through the reunion, the union, the integration of your heart, your solar plexus, your lower belly, you begin to shift into alignment, into your true self, into the true power of the light that you are, and choose to end shutting down to yourself. Choose to end shutting down to this alignment of the light that you are, for you are the light of your soul, the light of God that's here shining bright. No religion, no dogma. We're talking pure divine intelligence, the pure light of your infinite knowingness. Know your knowing. Trust yourself. Thank you so much for joining with me. I invite you to open your heart to yourself for some time, these moments after listening. Feel free to listen again. And I'd love to invite you to my website, ayanalehi.com. And if you haven't yet, sign up, subscribe, and receive each week for 52 weeks a free weekly video series called Living from Your Wild Heart. And check out my courses. And there are courses for men, women, and spiritual evolvement for these times in every area of your life. Sending you all my love. This is Ayanalehi, sending you much light.